Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at righteousfelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
Everybody starts coming out with this article about how Vini is not happy. He wants to leave Real Madrid. He's not discussing a contract renewal. And I think it's funny because these are the exact... They literally posted this like a month ago. It was literally a month ago when they stated this. The El Clasico. All the things about the locker room. This is literally a month ago. All this was talked about a month ago. I'm going to say it again. This was happening a month ago. Him being unhappy, the whole everyone not liking how Xabi Alonso is like strict and, have all these like rules that they need to follow, all the extra gym sessions, all the extra video sessions, all that, the restrictions in the locker room, all those things. This isn't new. We're talking about something that was dropped a month ago. But people just need something to post. They need to post something, so they recycle what was posted already. So, and obviously it got what they were hoping for, which was to get a reaction off of these people. That's exactly what it was for. It was to get a reaction, take advantage of just fans frustrated of a 2-2 draw against Elche, which I understand. But that was a post. This discussion of Vini not being happy with Xabi Alonso was literally a month ago. Maybe not literally, but it was a month ago where Vinicius shared his frustration about Xabi Alonso. So it's nothing new. We literally I literally talked about this a couple episodes ago. So it's not news. This is not an ongoing, for all we know, this has probably already been handled. But because, once again, you need to talk about something and you need to take advantage of just a very disappointing performance from Real Madrid, you gotta kind of start shaking some things up to get a reaction, which you're getting it. You're exactly getting it. So I can't say anything, but we all know Vinicius Jr. is not happy with Xabi Alonso. He claims that his relationship with Xabi Alonso is strictly professional, which is probably by far the dumbest fucking thing I ever heard in my life. Sorry for cussing, Kelsey. But it's supposed to be a professional relationship. I get it that there's managers out there that are just great players coaches. Like Carlo Ancelotti is a players coach. He likes having a relationship with his players. He values that. Now, is Xabi Alonso a players coach? I have no fucking idea. Sorry for cussing, Kelsey. But I will tell you this. He may not be a player's coach because he's focused more on the tactics. He's a student of the game. But he's also a former player. So he probably can relate to the players because he was not that long ago, he was playing. So, and Xabi Alonso has mentioned, he understands a player being frustrated, being subbed out. He also has been frustrated for being subbed out. He relates to these guys. So he's not I'll reiterate this again. He's not Carlo Ancelotti. He's not. But I would also remind you, the last season that last season with Carlo Ancelotti, it was a rough season. Yes, injuries did come into play, and all those things, and I get that. But once again, there just wasn't any structure defensively. There was no effort as a unit to defend. Mbappe, Jude Bellingham, and Vinicius were not coming back and defending. And I will say, aside from maybe a few other games, Real Madrid hasn't been blown out. It's been a lot of close matches. Yes, it's a little bit, it can be overwhelming at times, but they're just not, we're not getting blown out. Are we giving up careless mistakes? Yes. Actually, the Olympiacos game was very frustrating, even though it was a win. But at the end of the day, And it's still like the first half of the season. We're almost done with the first half of the season, but still, you had a strong performance against Barcelona in El Clásico. Um, depending how you do in this next game against I think it's Girona. Depending on how they perform against Girona, if they get a win, they're back on top of the table.
Whoa. That person has really gotten him or herself into quite a predicament.
So this whole thing about that one, you can't say the club is performing poorly because they're doing fairly well. As a matter of fact, Kylian Mbappe is looking like he might be topping his goal production from last year, outdoing his goal production from last year. Which, by the way, he won the goal scorer amongst all competitions. So like, if he's a so like, and the thing is like, people talk about more about how the guys are frustrated with him, but no one's talking about the guys that are actually like flourishing and standing by Xabi Alonso. Kylian Mbappe is one of them. Thibaut Courtois is another person. Carrera is obviously newer signing, so maybe not a good example to pull. But there's guys that are genuinely happy with Xabi Alonso and are buying in with what Xabi Alonso wants to do. Now, are there guys that aren't happy? Rumored to be Jude Bellingham, Federico Valverde, Endrick, and Rodrigo, and I believe Ferland Mendy, but Mendy hasn't really been playing, which is unfortunate. But because the guy is a dog. But if you notice, Jude Bellingham was dealing with an injury, so hasn't really been playing much. But I think maybe for like the role, here's the thing: Arda Güler, which Xabi Alonso made it very clear that this is a guy that he wants to, utilize a lot more. Well, him and Jude Bellingham kind of play the same position, unless you put Güler on the wing, which, there's so many moving parts and questions. So Bellingham, maybe just because the role that he has to play, doesn't particularly like it. Valverde, I mean, this guy literally plays everywhere on the field, but I think that at some point he wants to be a midfielder. But at the end of the day, he's the captain of Real Madrid, and as long as Dani Carvajal is on the field. But he's one of the vice captains for Real Madrid, and I think that I'm not entirely sure if that's a real true. Once again, these are rumored. Endrick, I totally get. The guy hasn't been on the field. The guy doesn't play. He's gonna go to Lyon on loan in January, so I get it that he hasn't been happy. He hasn't been happy since he came to Real Madrid because he's not playing. So I get that. Rodrigo, he was rumored to leave Real Madrid this past summer. He didn't go. He stayed put. He was doing drills with Xabi Alonso. But yeah, he hasn't really been playing and he hasn't really been performing. So I get why he's unhappy. My personal opinion, he probably should have left. He probably should have gone and went elsewhere, because I think the way Real Madrid is shaping up, Rodrigo is going to get phased out. He is getting phased out. At the end of the day, I say this plenty of times, nobody's bigger than the club. When you talk about the big clubs, we're talking about Real Madrid, Arsenal, Manchester United, Manchester City, throw all the names you want. PSG might be a little bit different, but the Bayern Munich, the Borussia Dortmunds, all those big clubs across Europe, the saying continues: no one, and I mean nobody, is bigger than the club. Players come and go, but the club stays. Cristiano Ronaldo left Real Madrid. Real Madrid still won Champions Leagues after Ronaldo left. They won Champions League before Ronaldo. They'll win Champions Leagues again. That's the way it is. Real Madrid is just, it's Real Madrid. People are gonna want to come play for this club. If you want out, go. You're really not as big as you think it is. You're really not. And I'm applaud the board because of all the bullcrap that they have to hear from literally something that was reported a fucking month ago. Sorry for cousin Kelsey. Once again, a month ago, they said, "Hey, no, we're backing Xabi Alonso. He's our guy. We brought him in for this reason. We're gonna see this project through." And it's like, you can't sit here and say that he's an unproven manager, because he literally got Bayer Leverkusen a league title. He got Bayer Leverkusen undefeated. They went invincible the year they won the Bundesliga. So you can't sit here and say that he's unproven because, once again, Bundesliga, which has been dominated from Bayern Munich for many years, ended the streak. That Bayer Leverkusen team, which, by the way, when Xabi Alonso took over that Bayer Leverkusen team, was on the cusp of not looking great. Mind you, they fired their manager at the time, and then when Xabi Alonso came in, got them into a better position. I believe Champions League position. So he got them from wherever they were on the table, which was not really in a good position. I don't think they were relegation bound, but they were not in a good side of the table. Got them into a European competition spot. Actually, as a matter of fact, I believe it was Europa League, because that's right. They went to the final. And then obviously the following year responds by having an invincible season with Leverkusen. So you can't sit here and tell me that Xabi Alonso isn't a good manager, because he did an amazing turnaround with Bayer Leverkusen. As a matter of fact, look where they are now that he left. So don't feed me that crap that Xabi Alonso is in over his head. Is Bayer Leverkusen a different situation than Real Madrid? Of course. Does Bayer Leverkusen have high standards and high expectations? Are the team known for winning Champions League? No, they're not. But to say that Xabi Alonso isn't a quality manager when he literally got a team that probably has a history of having good players come out of there, but that's the history of good players coming out of there. He got them to win the Bundesliga in an invincible year. So don't feed me that crap that he's not a good manager. He's trying to build his culture at Real Madrid. I'll honestly tell you, if the guys that are rumored to be unhappy, Jude Bellingham, Federico Valverde, Endrick, Rodrigo, Ferland Mendy, if they're not happy in this scenario, get the fuck out. Sorry for Cousin Kelsey. Get the fuck out. Go somewhere you want to be at. If you don't want to see this project all the way through, if you don't want to buy in with Xabi Alonso, go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. Because once again, as much as I love these guys, I love Jude Bellingham, I love Federico Valverde, he's my adopted son. Endrick, he's cool. Rodrigo, once again, adopted son. As much as I like these guys, and I love Ferland Mendy, as much as I like these guys, they can leave. They can leave. I hope they do well. I hope they do. But if you're not bought in, that's where I'm not gonna have it. If you're not bought in, get out. And let Real Madrid bring in guys that will. Speaking of Jude Bellingham, if you're not happy, Real Madrid's on the cusp of bringing Nico Paz back, who's been doing great at Como. You're gonna have to compete with that. Once again, this is all if the rumors true. This is all if the rumors are true. I don't believe that Bellingham is unhappy, because once again, these are reports from a month ago. These are guys that were happy with Carlo Ancelotti. That's what it is. I made the analogy back. I made the analogy in the previous episode. It is the Mighty Ducks. This all that we're hearing, it's the Mighty Ducks. If you guys aren't familiar, the Mighty Ducks is this kids movie of this group of misfit kids that were a terrible hockey team. In comes Gordon Bombay, who kind of becomes like a father figure, if you will, for these kids. Gets them to somehow win a championship, which, by the way, they were still terrible. They couldn't make the playoffs. It wasn't for the fact that a team one of the teams that were in the playoffs got the measles. So they got in by default, not because they were a good fucking team, because they were horrendous. Sorry for Cousin Kelsey. And then they went to the championship game, beat the big bad team of the coach for some reason that has been coaching that little league team for God knows how many years. If he's developed so many good players, how the hell does he not got a job in the NHL? That's just my questions for a different discussion. But that, and then obviously D2, for some reason, this team that wasn't really good to make to qualify for their playoffs, which it was a 10 team a 10 team league, and 8 teams made the playoffs. And for some reason, USA Hockey was like, "Get me those guys," for some fucking odd reason. And for some reason, they're like, "Yeah, Gordon Bombay, you only coached like a few games, but hey, how about you coach the USA team?" What? Okay, anyway, that's not important. Anyway, now we're at and then they somehow beat Iceland to become, the Olympic champions. Then fast forward to D3. Gordon Bombay gets a job where he gets to help run the Goodwill games, the Olympic games for the hockey league. So he's going to be doing that. So then these kids are all got like this ragtag group of kids that had no business representing the U.S. and now have gotten a full ride scholarship for this prestigious academy. They don't have Gordon Bombay anymore. Now they have this new coach. This coach that is, by the rules, an actual hockey coach. And he's not buddy with the guys. He's not having them, learn to pass by using eggs and, having guys like chase them down with a lasso. Like, he's not doing that. Like, he's having them actually do drills. Even points out that, hey, our fat goalkeeper that never stays in shape probably shouldn't be our goalkeeper. Maybe the girl that's called Julie the Cat Gaffney, who apparently has led the league in clean sheets, maybe she's the one that should be the starting goalkeeper. All these things. So this coach and Charlie Conway, for some fucking odd reason, which probably got a lot more special treatment from Gordon Bombay, mainly because he was banging his mom. But I like how this discussion just turned into a whole synopsis of the Mighty Ducks. So he, and then obviously he's unhappy. Gordon Bombay isn't there. He feels like he left the team, and he hates this guy because he doesn't like the way this guy coaches, and all this blah 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 blah. Vinicius Jr. is Charlie Conway, and Carlo Ancelotti is banging his mom. That's what I'm getting to at this point. Carlo Ancelotti has this father-son relationship with Vinicius Jr. Now that Carlo Ancelotti isn't there, and he doesn't have that same relationship with Xabi Alonso, because Xabi, one, is just not that kind of guy, because for him, maybe he likes the strictly professional relationship. Maybe he doesn't want to be your buddy. And I think Vini just doesn't like the change. I think that's where it comes down to it. Vini doesn't like the change. And once again, this is reports that happened a month ago. I'm just going to keep reiterating that. It's a report that happened a month ago. This is what we're talking about. A report that happened a month ago that, once again, media just got bored and needed something to rattle some people. So they reposted a report that happened a fucking month ago. Sorry for cussing, Kelsey. So, yeah, that's where we're at. But the update now, once again, I did mention that Real Madrid is backing Xabi Alonso. Just want to make that bountifully clear, abundantly clear. There was an update. So Vini apparently is now willing to accept a reduced term contract. Wonder why? I wonder why. Well, one, tensions have cooled off because it has been a fucking month. Sorry for cousin Kelsey, but it has been a month since, all that shenanigans has happened. And two, he hasn't really gotten any offers. And I honestly tell you why. As much as I love Vinicius Jr., and I love Vinicius Jr., I love how he plays. I love the whole has his heart on his sleeve. Does he get a bit emotional? Definitely. But I still love him nonetheless. I love the way he is, the tenacity and all those things. I'm perfectly fine with the total package that is Vinicius Jr., with the good, the bad, and the ugly. And there is a lot of ugly. But not everybody's going to be able to tolerate that. Not everybody's going to tolerate that. So if you, and then here's the thing, here's the kicker. You want this father-son if you think that this father-son relationship with Carlo Ancelotti you're going to get with somebody else, you're probably not. Because the teams that essentially he was kind of interested in was Manchester City, Pep Guardiola. I don't think you're going to get that father-son relationship with him. PSG, you're definitely not going to get that relationship with Luis Enrique. Luis Enrique is not afraid to call you out on your bullshit. Sorry for cousin Kelsey. If you go to Bayern Munich, you think Vincent Kompany is gonna let you just go around being a little punk? We've seen him chew out players at Burnley. We've all seen the video. What makes you think the grass is gonna be greener? You're not. And once again, there's a reason why there's not many clubs that are reaching out. One, his price tag is too fucking high. Sorry for cousin Kelsey. His price tag's high. So, and once again, his contract expires in 2027. So, if he wants to leave the club's got to be willing to pay a good amount of money for him. Like, he's going to be one of the highest transfers. And teams like PSG and Man City essentially would probably have the money for him. But in Arsenal, no. Manchester United, I would be very intrigued if they were able to pull the money up. So your options are either PSG, which clearly they're not interested in him. I mean, why would they? They have Doué and they have Kvaratskhelia. Why would they want him on the wing? They're good. Man City, I don't really think they have any use of him. I mean, they literally shipped Jack Grealish to Everton. So why? Because he didn't play. So why would you bring Vinicius Jr. in? So really, honestly, the only league I was specifically say that can afford him is Saudi Arabia. And do you think Vinicius Jr. wants to go play in Saudi Arabia? Not now, not yet. Probably maybe when he's like 35, maybe. But not now. He wants a Ballon d'Or. And the only way he's going to get a Ballon d'Or is if he plays for a top team in Europe. Real Madrid probably gives him his best shot. You just have to buy in. And you know what? And going back to the Mighty Ducks, Charlie eventually does suck it up and buys in on what this coach was doing. And what did they do? Once he bought in, played two-way hockey, defensive hockey, because he was, Charlie was more for being a goal scorer, not a defender. But once he figured that out, he realized that this coach was really good. He built a really good relationship with the coach. Coach gave him back his seat because he was the captain of the Mighty Ducks. And they beat the varsity team. Because he bought in. So moral of the story is, coaches are going to come and go. Players are going to come and go. You just have to buy in whatever the new coach is doing. Probably the moral of the story. Unless he sucks. Like, if we're talking about, like, just a terrible coach, I mean, that's a different story. But if you're a team like Real Madrid, you're going to get good coaches. So, but the real moral of this story is, this was an article. This whole conversation, this article, the articles that were written about the whole Vinicius not being happy and not doing a contract renewal, all this came from a conversation that happened a month ago. A conversation that happened a month ago. A temper tantrum that happened a month ago. That is all that this is based off of. All that's what it's based off of. That's all I gotta say. Once Real Madrid starts winning, once we're in the thick of it, where you're gonna have to play Vini, you're gonna have to play your stars regularly, everything's gonna be fine. Once everybody gets bought in, once everyone buys in, which I'm assuming everybody has, things will be fine. Things will be fine.
Who is that guy?